All right, we're here at M&M Sporting Clays in Pennsville, New Jersey for the 2019 U.S. Open. And we're here talking to Thaddius Bedford, photographer for the National Sporting Clays Association. And Thaddius, tell us a little bit about your gear that you're using out here at the U.S. Open.
Oh, I have a plethora.
But Nikon. I mean, you're a Nikon.
Yes.
Nikon, we're not in the UK. Everybody, my father and the National Geographic said Nikon, so we're saying Nikon.
Nikon. I have two Nikon camera bodies with me. Actually, no, I have three camera. I've got a D800, I have a D500, and a D4S in the truck. And my goodness, I've got a 400 2.8 lens. I've got a 17 to 35 2.8 lens, a 60 2.8, 110 2.8, 70 to 200, which is probably my primary lens. It's what I use 80% of the time if I don't have the 400 on. The others are specialty lenses that I use for macro and any kind of portraiture or anything else where I need something specific, but the other two are pretty much on the camera, one of the camera bodies all the time.
How many shots do you think you'll take over the course of this shoot?
4,000 to 6,000.
Wow.
Stills.
And then you also brought a drone, right?
Yeah, I brought a drone. I do video and stills on a drone. I brought a Sony F3 broadcast camera, 35 millimeter sensor that I've got an adapter on that takes all my Nikon lenses. And all my sound equipment, lapel mics and everything else for doing interviews. I have another Sony 4K handheld camera that I use for doing just on-the-fly shots, video-wise. Trying to think what else I've got in the truck. I brought one light just in case, but this trip we've had beautiful weather, so I haven't needed any lights.
Thankfully. I know it's got some pretty cool drone footage over the marshes out here. There's it's a beautiful marsh area out here, and we got the drone up and got some really awesome. I know you got some awesome stills and some awesome video out there.
Yeah, flew at 4,000 feet out over the marsh and turned it around and came back over the club. That was fun. And
we learned a valuable lesson. Mallards do not care about drones. Apparently.
At least Anthony's mallards don't.
Yeah, don't try this at home.
I don't know if I'd try that.
On a wild
awful tame.
Right. Right.
I thought they were all going to fly away. They didn't. I thought it'd make a great shot.
It was pretty interesting.
They just sat there looking at me.
Right. I'm sure that footage will show up somewhere, so we'll check that out.
Yeah, tonight's make or break was fun with the drone too. The crowd was huge.
Cool.
And flying the drone over the crowd, and Anthony was auctioning off shooters, and I got over the stage looking back at everybody, and it was pretty. You don't realize how big the crowd is when you're walking through it. You know there's a lot of people, but you just don't get a real scale of the size until you get up over it and you can see everybody and how far back they are and how thick the crowd is all the way through. It was pretty cool. I definitely had a different perspective.
Right, absolutely. So 4,000 to 6,000 images, how much editing time? Just for the images, you think?
Just for the images themselves, 2 to 3 days, usually. And by the time it's all said and done, they're cropped and color corrected and sorted.
And then the video-wise, what do you think?
Oh, goodness. The video I shot here so far would probably take me 6 or 7 days to edit.
Right.
And I've shot several hours of video. And video is just really time consuming to edit. You've got to go through and log all of the footage and break it into the pieces that you're going to use, and then create a timeline and overlay stills or anything else you're going to include in that other video footage, B-roll.
Right.
It takes time between that, and then you got to work with the sound.
It's a whole other animal.
Exactly. It's when I started doing video 20 years ago, I never realized how complicated it was compared to stills. Stills, you can tell an entire story in one image. Video, you actually you've got to deal with the sound and the sound levels. You've got to deal with the white balance, black balance, get everything. The cameras are not as user-friendly as your typical still camera is. So
yeah, it's a whole order of magnitude.
Yes, yes, and then shooting it is complicated. Then you get into the actually editing it, and I mean, doing sound overlays with music, doing your interviews and still having that sound low enough where it doesn't interfere with it, then overlays of clips and different pieces to make it interesting to watch. It takes a lot longer than you realize.
Right. And then any titling or any other graphics you want to drop in?
Oh yeah, graphics are astronomical. A 30-second graphic, an open graphic, can take 3 days to create.
Right.
After Effects is just so time consuming to use it. You get incredible stuff, but people don't realize, honestly, to create what seems like relatively, it's like, oh, that shouldn't take that long. Well, yeah, it does.
Right. So what, I mean, I know you've said to me in the past that you're not really a shooter, you have shot, but that you think that brings an interesting, unique perspective because you look at things a little differently than maybe somebody like I do who is a shooter. So
I think that I think it brings a different look to the industry. I think in the past, at least from what everybody has told me, most of the people that have been photographers in the industry are shooters also.
Right.
And here I come, and I've shot guns all my life, but I hadn't even heard of sporting clays when I started shooting sporting clays. And when I came into it, I had people tell me, you can't do that, nobody's going to like that. And like, why? And they're like, well, you just can't. No shooter's going to like that. And it doesn't show this and it doesn't show that. Well, that's okay. Well, I still shoot the way I shoot. I'm sorry if you don't like it, I guess.
I'm going to break the rules.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I've prided myself on getting the shots that nobody else gets. I mean, that's one of those things, the angles and the way I see things is very different than most photographers I know. And I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing. I guess it all depends on somebody's style when they look at it. Where it's a very objective or subjective content, so everybody has a different opinion of what they're looking at. But I feel like the cool part about it is when you're not a shooter, you're not trying to capture something. You don't have a preconceived idea of how to capture something. I think when you're in a shooter, you're very technical and you know where the shot's going, you know where the bird's going. You're trying to show something that a shooter get. And for me, it's more about capturing moments and not,
much more an artistic impression, I would probably say.
Yeah, a much more artistic impression rather than trying to catch the technical part of the shot.
That makes sense.
And trying to get, I always like to do the stuff that everybody tells me I can't.
Right.
I got a shot of Annabelle Ayers at one of the PSCA events, and I was in a blind, and nobody knew I was out there other than Scott Robertson, who owned the place. But I got a great shot. The bird's blowing up right in front of me. And she's just done her follow through, but the bird is right in front of the camera.
Right. Don't try this.
But if I can get an angle that's even where you can see the intensity on somebody's face, or you can see their eyes, that's to me. If I can show the eyes of the shooter, there's an intensity, there's a story in that photograph. So if I can set myself up in a place where they may not be taking the shot where they're looking, if FTASC is a great example of that, right here where we're at, they've got a Longbird FTASC, and if you set yourself up right at the end of the line, they start their shot looking right at you. The bird's coming off a tower here. You can't see it from where you're standing, but the bird's coming from up here. They're not taking the shot until they're over here, but they're starting here. And so when they're starting their shot, you can see the intensity in their eyes. With the lens that I do have, it does bring me in a lot tighter, so I can get that. You can see their eyes. You can see that. That's
that focus.
Exactly. It's like laser focus, and you can see that intensity, and you know it's real. You see a lot. The thing that has always, ever since I started shooting this stuff in the sporting clays, the shots that always drove me nuts is the set shots where you can tell somebody's just standing there.
Right. The pose.
You can, if you look at their eyes, you know they're not focused on anything. There's not an intensity to them. I like to capture that moment. That's the part that really drives my photography all the way around. I would like to catch moments that really emote a feeling.
Right.
And if I can't capture that moment with somebody or with a scenic or anything else, to me, that's what my job is as a photographer. And that's what my passion is to capture a moment that when you look at it, you either want to be there, you want to cry, you want to scream, you want to, it's like how that...
It elicits an emotion.
Exactly. And
it tells a story. I think that's what everybody forgets is the photo should tell a story.
Yes.
Whatever that story is, but it should tell...
Well, it tells part of a story. Right. It tells that intensity part, and then you show a picture from the drone of the whole crowd, and you realize the magnitude of the event, coupled with a photo of that intensity. If it's put together right in a story, you can really tell a fun story that emotes something out of any one of the readers of a magazine or a blog or whatever, however you're going to put that out there. Right. In my case, however the NSCA decides to use it, whether it be the magazine or advertising or whatever, if you put a photo out there to advertise with that doesn't emote something, you're probably not going to get a return. The whole point of taking photographs for advertising is to make a connection with somebody. Right. And if you don't, to me, if you don't have that emotion attached to it, you're really not making a connection with them.
Good point. Good point. What, I know there's a lot of people out, especially with their phones, taking pictures. Any tips for some of the people out there from a pro that would help amateurs out, either with some of their their cameras or phone photography? Any tip you can give somebody?
Oh my goodness, I wouldn't even
just in general.
I'm just trying to think of. I see all the people out there, and it used to be frustrating to me, but then I look at what they get. I start wondering if they're a better photographer than me with some of the stuff I see out there.
Phones,
I tell you, the phones take fantastic photographs, and other than just be patient and wait for the moment. That's if I had a piece of advice to anybody out there, don't be in a rush. Wait for that moment. It'll happen if you're paying attention and you're patient enough to get it. I get a lot of people ask me, it's like, how can you just you stand there and stand there and stand there and stand there and stand there with the camera up to your eye? It's like, because I'm waiting for that moment, and when I see it, I snap it. That's something I don't know if it just comes from within or what, but I just park myself until I see that moment. And there's a lot of times I park myself there for 5 minutes and then I get out of my cart and move on because it just didn't happen. Well, it's like the iPhone, the manual settings on the iPhone that a lot of people don't realize you can do by just touching the screen where you want the exposure to average. And if you touch a dark spot, it'll lighten the whole thing up, or you touch a light spot, it'll darken the whole thing up. Even just playing with that to get it right in the first place.
Right. Or touch the focus.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the hard thing about the phones is I don't play with the phones enough because I've always got my big camera in my hands. And so I'm not quite sure how to do a lot of the stuff I do with my big camera because I like soft focus stuff. I like very deliberate focus stuff. Anytime I can put your eye where I want you to look. It's funny how you can do that with focus is I may be focused on something that's completely uncentered and everything, in the center of the photograph's out of focus. I can draw your eye where I want your eye to go. And using that, I learned that a long time ago in advertising. If I want a particular product or whatever, I can put that product in a place, in a location without the location taking you away from the product.
Right.
And put you on a mountaintop, or I can put you, but it's more of a painted mountaintop and your focus is on the product. I like doing stuff like that. That's something that you don't see a whole lot of nowadays, as far as a lot of the stuff that I see anyways. I'm not saying nobody knows how to do it, but there's just a lot of people, and I think part of it is so much is getting done on a phone where it's f/22. It's a full depth of field. You can see everything in the photograph. I'd like to be able to selectively lead somebody's eye, but scenics or other things where I don't want that, I show you the depth of field and show you what's in the background. It helps.
What else you want to tell us? Anything else? Anything else you want to let the world know about Thaddius Bedford? The man, the myth, the legend, the man with the biggest lens in the business?
I don't know. There's so many things that the shooting world doesn't know about what I do. As far as the
little synopsis real quick.
A little synopsis. I spent a lifetime filming underwater. I have done stuff for National Geographic, Discovery Channel, BBC, History Channel, a lot of stuff. 17.
Yeah, we know you from this industry.
Right. Well, yeah, and then,
the
still photography and the video aspect of it. I spent a lifetime, field producing television shows for a company called Wolf Creek Productions, which everything they did was contracted by. They were basically a production house for the Outdoor Channel. That was their contract. They had 6 different programs on the Outdoor Channel. And so I spent a long time, 17 years worth of field producing outdoor television, hunting and fishing programming. And myself being an explorer, I spent half my life searching for shipwrecks on the Great Lakes with my own equipment, my own time, teaching mixed gas diving and everything else while I was still a photographer, but I was an underwater photographer. I really didn't have any interest in doing anything other than underwater photography, and it just kept on evolving and evolving and evolving, and picked up the broadcast stuff. And heck, the very first time, it was 11 years ago, the very first time I'd ever even heard of sporting clays. And I shot an event for the NSCA for the USA Sporting Clays team. But they asked me to come and do some photography of the team, and I did, and they really liked what I did. And every year since then, it's just kind of grown. Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you be at these events? Really, it just started out in South Florida at the Grand Prix, and then and now I'm covering the both of the world events, the U.S. English, or the World Feed Task and World English. And then this year we'll have covered by the end of the year every regional other than the Western and North Central. It's kind of morphed into something that I never anticipated, and right. It's been interesting. It's been a great run. I've really enjoyed learning about sporting clays and shooting it, and I think the people just absolutely amaze me every time I come to one of these events. I've been a lot of different events. I've shot Baja racing and IMSA racing and just you name it, as far as different things, wakeboarding, and it's just crazy to me when I come to the sporting clay events how friendly people are, and people stop and talk to you. It's really a neat experience compared to most events that I've ever photographed.
It's a great community. It's a really good community.
The people are just fantastic.
Right.
It's just been wonderful. You go to an IMSA race, which is endurance racing, Le Mans or 12 hours of Sebring or 24 hours of Daytona, and nobody talks to you.
Right.
You got a press vest on, and you're walking around
really
with mobs, and and they're all not happy at the fact that there's a fence where they're at, and you've got about 60 feet before you get to the edge of the track, and you can walk right up to the edge of the track.
Right.
So it's a very, very different environment.
Right. Cool.
But yeah, Sporting Clays World has just been fantastic to me.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, Thaddius Bedford, we're here at the U.S. Open 2019 at M&M Sporting Clays in Pennsville, New Jersey, and weather was beautiful for the most part. Early in the week had a little bit of rain, but it's been awesome since then, and looking to have a good finish. We're filming this on Saturday night, so we still got tomorrow. We don't know who's going to win, but it'll be fun. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.